And all right, so we are recording. Well, welcome to our mastermind group on the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by Dr. John C. Maxwell. Hopefully you guys all have had a chance to get a copy of the book, because the book's amazing, as all of his materials are. It has truly been the hallmark of my personal growth, has been studying the things that Dr. Maxwell has written. And I've been a student of his since 1997.
Really?
That I've been studying his materials. So, Jen,
Wow.
Have you used any of his materials? Are you familiar with him at all?
I don't think I have. I might have purchased a book that I just haven't read yet. Now I'll put video on now. Because I do have some books, but I don't remember if it was by him or not. I did read the first chapter last night and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's totally me.
Well, good, because that's really the mastermind group. Isn't that any one of us have all of the answers? It's that we're more powerful together when we put our brains together and our ahas and our answers, together as well. And so my role is a facilitator, and then also to be able to share and teach some, from the materials as well. And I want you to know that this is a really safe group of people to be with. It's an awesome group of women to be with as well. Mary Ann Brown will be joining us our next time. She had another commitment that conflicted with this. And Mary Kitchen is a CPA. And so sometimes just with her clients, she can't always get on. But I didn't hear back from her. In fact, she messaged me, just making sure that we were going to be on today. So Jen, what I would love is if you can, while you're getting ready, are you able to just share a little bit about yourself so that everybody gets to know a little bit about you?
Sure. My name is Jen Kiefer. I do kind of two jobs. I'm a substitute teacher during the school year and in the summer. And throughout the year, I sell Pampered Chef. I've always, after reading the first chapter, my motivation is probably my key thing that is probably my downfall at some points. And I just keep putting things off, which is why I'm at this point where I'm just not going to go look for a full-time job for teaching, I think. But then sometimes I want to change my mind. But that whole up and down of, yeah, we love to have you work every day, but we can't give you a full-time job, or that type of thing. So I'm just trying to still grow my business a little bit more so I can depend on that more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm growing, and I need to be better at doing systems and being a little more, people think I'm organized. That's the persona that I project. I don't really know. I'm being organized. I'm I don't even know what to do right now. So I know that's kind of a little bit about myself. I'm looking forward to learning different things and, getting motivated, or just doing things instead of going, oh yeah, I don't feel motivated today, because that's almost every day for some people. So.
Got it. Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, are you on Amy's team, or you just know? Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Amy is my wonderful director, which she has improved my life more than she'll probably ever know. Because I used to be a super negative person, and Amy is the complete opposite. She doesn't really allow negativity in her life. And if it's there for a short time, and then she pushes it away. So it's really helped me be more positive and actually feel more valued in life.
Yeah, it's great. Well, Amy is a master leader, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know that it is a blessing to have her in your life for sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And I just want to commend you, because, the first step of personal growth and making changes is awareness, that there needs to be a change. That's 50% of it. And then the next part is taking that action. And that's really big girl, kind of stuff for all of us, because most people run around with their blind spots and they don't know, you know, they know that something holds them back, but they don't know what, and they're not willing to look at it, and they're not willing to confront it, and they're not willing to reach up and ask for help and support, you know, either.
Mhm.
And so you doing that, you know, speaks volumes. And so I'm excited to, oops, sorry, my battery keeps turning my thing here, my camera. I'm excited to watch what will happen for you with the growth, you know, in this. So do you have anything else that you're thinking of that you want to get out of this other than kind of your motivation and moving you forward?
I think just being, sorry, I'm trying to sign into my Dropbox so I can see the documents too. I think just being like more positive. Sometimes or like more, I don't know, just organized and more positive. And I tend to let life interfere with like my goals and things that I want to do. And although I need to do that sometimes, like, and Amy knows this, oh, there we go. I recently lost my dog, and yes, I needed to grieve, but like it took a whole month for me that I was doing that, and I would do my bare minimum. And now I felt like in the whole month of May and then part of June, like I'm trying to get myself back out of that rut. And I tend to do that a lot of times with life. Like whatever happens, if it's a negative thing or something bad happens, I let that kind of overtake. And then I don't do what I like want to be doing. And I lose focus, and I just feel like, you know, or I watch other people do stuff and I'm like, I'll never do that. I can't do that. Like, you know, I look at like some people in our company and they're national execs in 3 years. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it took me like 5 years to get to be a director. So just things like that. I need to focus more on myself and not worried about like the outside world and letting that come into what I want to do.
Great.
But
Good. Well,
she
thank you
has
for your-
come so far. If you would have met this girl 5 years ago, you would not believe it is the same girl. She motivates me because she's our tech guru. She knows everything about technology, and for an old dog, she is my go-to girl for that. And I lean on her a lot for that. So I appreciate you very much, Jen. Very much.
Together. Life would be
I was-
totally different if I didn't do this it'll be 6 years. So 6 years ago. And if you, even like Amy said, if you ask any one of my friends, this conversation that I'm having with you right now, Kim, I would have just been sitting here going, oh, okay, no, I don't really have anything. So, yeah.
Well, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, you know? And so I'm sure that some of the things that you're going to hear are going to be things that you might have heard, you know, previous, but now you're ready, you know? And so that's really an exciting thing moving forward. And I know from our last mastermind group how it shifted people. So I'm excited to see what God has in store for this group. And there are going to be 4 participants live, and then one that watches kind of remotely, you know, in the study because of her work schedule. And so Kim Berenger will be watching afterwards because of work schedule, but we'll have Mary Kitchen, Mary Brown, and Amy and Jen and myself. So a nice little intimate group, which I feel like we'll get a lot of good things accomplished. And we'll start on time and we'll end on time. I originally said 6 sessions. I think we're going to go to a 7th one, the very last Thursday in August. Because just with 15 laws, and I was just trying to sort through based on what I already know of, you know, Amy and Marianne and Mary, which laws I think are going to be the most bang for the buck out of it. I just thought taking it to 6, there's so much in here that I think we'll just add one more weekend, and that will let me to kind of touch on some of the lessons that we don't really get to do a deep dive. I'll just kind of briefly you know, teach a few minutes on those, and then be able to go deep into seven great lessons. So the first one is the law of intentionality. And just a couple things about John in his golden rules of leadership growth. He talks about, this is sort of some things that were in the preface and some things that I just know from John, that continual learning and growth is part of the process. Looking to other leaders is really important. You don't have to be an expert or even a leader to participate in this kind of a study. And so if you know other people still that you would like to have participate, I feel like they could still jump in the next time that we meet the end of June and still be able to get a lot of meat out of the study. So, if somebody comes to mind, please feel free to invite them. And Jen, what I did for people was that if you have somebody that you bring into the study, that you'll get a $40 rebate on your fee. So that would still apply for you too as well.
Okay.
There'll be trials and errors. The key is not to make the same mistake twice. And as I have learned, is to learn the lesson and leave the emotion behind. If we're not making mistakes, we're not pushing the envelope of growth. And as women, we can get very caught up in our emotions, but learning to shut that door and not take those emotions personally, or the failure personally, to frame it as this is part of growth, in this process. And I'm always reminded of political figures like Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson, who ran for office multiple times before they, got their position. Like Abe Lincoln was, I don't know, some outrageous number of losses, and then he became the president. So never to judge a book by the failures. It's, if we're repeating those same things over and over, or it's, okay, did that, learn something not to do, and here we go forward from there. Our ability to become a better leader depends on how we respond to losses, how we respond to failures, how we respond to what other people say and do, and how much we allow that to affect us or don't allow that to affect us as well. And then effective leaders are always engaged in a paradigm of learning. And it basically has 3 phases to the paradigm. And so as we go through the lessons, you're going to see how it's set up that way. So learn it is the first one. Live it is the second one. And third is lead it. When I was in nursing school, we said, see one, do one, teach one. So it's kind of the same thing. Learn it, live it, and then lead it. And so I want to encourage you, if you lead a team of people, that you can take this information and lead them, in this process, or have discussions with your girlfriends or your family members about this, so that you're kind of leading some way. The only thing is that you can't give them the guides because that's copyrighted material, but you can certainly teach on a concept, of that. So I'm teaching tonight about the growth gap traps, to some of my girls tonight. So this is John's 3rd laws book that he wrote. The first book was helping leaders to become leaders, and it's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And then he did a second book to help have teams be better and more productive, and that's the 17 Indisputable Laws of Teamwork. And then this one was written to help individuals in any situation of their life. And there's really, we want to grow to discover our own purpose and potential. We want to grow in 5 areas, and this is not in your guide. We want to grow in self-awareness. We want to grow in character. We want to grow in skills, in relationships, and we want to grow spiritually. And when we grow in those areas, it's going to help us to maximize our purpose and our potential. And he recommends that you keep a growth journal for yourself, to track and measure your progress throughout the study. There's lots of different kinds of journals. If you are not somebody who likes to journal, or goes, oh, that feels so painful, there's a book on Amazon that is a 5-year journal that is like 5 lines per day. So there's 5 years on one page. And so you can kind of just write your cliff notes, of your personal growth journey. And it's really fun to kind of see where were you the year before, the year before, the year before. And so that's one of the things that I do, because I don't like to write. I know that's different than Amy. And Amy will send us quotes and pictures and all kinds of things as we go through this, which is phenomenal. But for me, that wasn't a strength. So that was always a challenge to journal. And so I found that was an easy way to start to break into that habit for me. So might be a help for you. So as we start to dig into this law of intentionality, John started off the chapter talking about the question that was asked of him is, do you have a growth plan? And talking about potential and unfulfilled potential. Potential having the positive connotation, and unfulfilled potential is like that die with our music unplayed, And I don't know about you guys, but I know that when I stand before the Lord, I want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. I want to use all the gifts and talents and abilities that he gave me, and I want to tap them out, to the best of my ability. And so I love being able to do these kind of groups, because I learn, and hopefully I get to be able to share some of the gifts that God gave me as well in this process. So I decided this time, Amy, and I'm curious to know, Amy and Marianne and Mary, if you like getting all the answers to the key. The last time we did this, we did a fill in the blank, but I thought it might go quicker, that we can kind of read through things and be able to spend more time in content and thoughts and things like that in this group. And so a lot of people want a better life. They want bigger and better in our careers, better relationships, better financial, wherewithal, but we don't always want to invest in the time and in the learning and education to get us there, and I know that both of you being in direct sales have experienced that, where, people want bigger things, but the women on your teams aren't willing to commit to those bigger things always, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God. It annoys me beyond belief. Amy knows this. It just annoys me.
Yes.
Yeah. Leading a volunteer army. This is what pastors do, you guys, is they lead a volunteer army. And so, one of the things that I like to say is, how many people walk through a church and they don't come back, and they're turning their back on the Lord, and the pastor has to not take it personally, and figure out how to capture people's attention and to have them come back. And sometimes people just bump up against their comfort zone, and they're not willing to press past that terror barrier. And so they just peace out, and settle for less. But we're not women who settle for less. That's why we're part of this group, right? So one of the things that John says before we talk about the traps is that, if you focus on goals, you may hit the goals, but hitting goals doesn't guarantee growth. If you focus on growth, you always will grow, and you will always hit growth. So what do you think he meant by that? If you focus on goals, you may hit the goals, but it doesn't guarantee growth. If you focus on growth, you will grow and always hit growth and hit goals.
Well, I guess for me, that just, goals are just temporary. They're short term. So once you hit it, you're like, all right, I'm good. And then sometimes people go for a new goal, and sometimes people are like, no, I'm good where I'm at. And they just stay there, and that's where they stay, and that's where they're good at. And I kind of can relate to that, because when I first started my business, I was like, I'm good just being a consultant. And it probably took me 2.5 years to realize, maybe 3, that I'm like, oh, I'd like to be a director. Now, I did it differently than most people, and I did it through my own sales and my own hard work rather than having a team behind me. But now I still keep it. And if I can add more people and help them, great. But I still want to keep what I have. And that means I have to work on things all the time rather than just go, okay, I met my goal for this month, I'm done. Like, I still try to beat that goal every month, or I still try to do something else different to improve upon what I'm doing.
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. Yep. Great analogy. And you don't have to grow to hit a goal. I mean, you know, the goal could be, I'm going to brush my teeth every day, you know? So it doesn't necessarily require that we grow, you know, in hitting goals. So, you know, some goals will require some growth. So Amy, what about you? Anything else you want to add on that?
I have seen people who, as soon as the company dangles a carrot, that's, you know, they're all for it. Let's just do this carrot, but I don't see their business growing. I don't see them expanding because of it. I don't see them getting excited and saying, wow, I liked that paycheck, so I want it again. You know, there's so many people who are they just want the stuff, and that's their passion. To me, I am a tidier, so I clean out that stuff and I give away that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That I've earned. So I don't think about that stuff.
Right.
I'm the opposite. That's why she's not allowed in my house. She's allowed in my house, just not upstairs.
Yeah, I don't keep any of that stuff. But I think it's been different for me because when I started this business, my husband had quit my job for me because I was in a very bad situation with a very bad boss for a very long time. And it was days later that I walked into my first Pampered Chef show, and the Hallelujah chorus went off and said, you need to do this. And I'm like, what? Everyone thought, you're rebounding. This is ridiculous. This is a one-time, just go ahead, get through this little thing that's this thing. Well, it'll be 25 years in November. But the thing that I've always done my business on a shoestring budget because I am the breadwinner. I am the person who pays almost all the bills for a very, 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 very long time. So to me, all the little danglies and those aren't going to grow me. You know, I need to see substantial money at the end. I hate to say that, but I have to have the money.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And not everybody's motivated by money. But money, I mean, heck, that's why I would do what I do, you know?
That's me.
Yeah. You're not motivated by money, Jen?
No, I am. No, definitely. Like, that's why I have 18 parties this month.
Good for you.
She
doesn't
does
always happen, but I'm like, because in the summertime, this is my only paycheck. So I need to have that money. I need to be able to pay bills. I don't want to have to go. Now, my parents are always like, oh, well, if you need money, just ask. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But my parents are always like, just take. I'm like, no, if I can't survive on my own money, then what am I doing? I don't want to be like, I don't want to say this, but like the rest of the world that go into like major credit card debt and always they're like trying to figure out which credit card to use and how to do this. But I mean, they always seem to have fun. But in the end, is it really that fun to be in debt and, you know, have all those great things?
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, you can't afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't live that way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But Jen's by herself. Jen has done her world by herself. She's had men in her life who I'm glad they've left her life.
Me too.
So I'm proud of her. I'm proud of her.
That's good. And I love those stories because that's just great for the direct selling world, you know, too, is women who support themselves, you know. So there's a lot of people that do what Amy and I do, and we're the primary breadwinners. And when people they think that, you know, it's not really that way. But when you are the primary breadwinner, it's just you, that's a big deal. So
it is.
This is something that's not in the handout, but just as we're talking about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation on things, is there's a book by Daniel Pink, and the book is called Drive. I don't recommend that you read the book, but I can teach you the most important concepts. And he says that motivation really comes from 3 areas. And so if we can help ourselves look at that, and if we can help our people to tap into those things, it's the acronym MAP, M-A-P. M stands for mastery. A is autonomy. And P is purpose. So if we can help our women that we lead, whether it's direct sales or whether it's in anything else that we're doing, women and men, look at which of those 3 things is most important to them: mastery, autonomy, or purpose, and really speak that to them, that it will help us help them get farther, in their life and in their businesses as well. Keeping that.
What is autonomy? Can you tell me what autonomy is?
Autonomy, autonomy is being able to do it yourself, to be able to have the freedom to have your life be the way you want it to be.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Not needing anybody else.
Like me, Amy. No, just kidding.
Oh, mine's definitely purpose. That's for sure.
Yeah. Good. And so what would you say your purpose is?
My purpose, I was in a workshop years ago, and I used to keep this in my planner, and I didn't paste it in for the first time. But years and years ago, I said, I want to always put a smile on somebody's face. I always want to be positive for them. When I walk in a room, it lights up in a good way, not in a bad way. And I want to be Jesus's hands and feet so that I can hug his people and walk towards and love his people and try to help them in any way, shape, or form to be the best that they can be.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my purpose.
Excellent. I love it. I love it. Do you know, for you, Jen, or would it be mastery, autonomy, or purpose?
What drives my motivation probably right now is autonomy. Just being able to always support myself and not needing someone else to not give me a hand, but financially, and just to be okay. It was funny. I was telling Amy, I'm like, oh, I'm good. I was in a good place. I had my dog for almost 14 years, and I was getting ready to break up with my boyfriend anyways. And I was like, oh, I'm good. I have my dog. It's just someone else to have here with me. Granted, she likes to sleep. She likes to sleep a lot, but if I needed someone to talk to, whatever, she would listen. If I needed comfort, she was always there. And when she died, I realized I didn't want my boyfriend there at the time. And so a couple of days later, I was like, we're done, whatever. And then I said to Amy the one time, and multiple other people, I said, I was finally good with being by myself and, doing everything. And I'm like, I was in a good place. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't have her there. It was a whole different, thing, because I'm like, I was good because I had her. So granted, I wasn't totally by myself, but I could, I was good. I didn't matter. Yes, I want kids in my life. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'll find another way. And yes, I'd want to get married and all of that, but I've been by myself for so long that I'm okay with it. I have my moments, which is why I'm getting another dog, but I can do this on my own. I don't need somebody else to do it for me. I don't have to depend on anybody else. And that's kind of why I try to work so hard, why I work multiple jobs. And not just, at one point before I did better at Pampered Chef, I was doing 5 jobs.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
I was substitute teaching, I was babysitting, I forget what the other, I was working part-time in another job. I was doing a ridiculous amount, and I would multitask in between. And now I've kind of slowly gotten away from that because I've done better in my business and can function on that now without that little extra money babysitting
Focus.
or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. And mine's definitely purpose. I became a nurse because I wanted to make a difference in the world, and to make a difference in other people's lives, and realized that in nursing, I was just helping them get back to their same old. through my Mary Kay business, I get to give people a whole different lease on life and dreams and a vehicle and the personal growth that comes along with it. And so my mission statement kind of is to spotlight the truth about the greatness inside each person, and also the greatness of who Jesus says that they are, so that they come to know him, as well. So that's kind of where mine kind of lies in together. And I love to be a positive light to other people. So I love to put a smile on people's face, and I love to be a connector of people as well. It's one of my other good strengths that I have. So then we're going into the growth gap traps, and there are 8 that John gave us. And you might find yourself in one of these right now. You might have found yourself in multiples of these in your life, or maybe there's a couple where you are right now. And so really kind of looking at that. The first one is the assumption gap, that I assume that I'll automatically grow. And John talked about the example of people assume that because physically we mature, that they think that emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that they're going to grow, as well, and continue to grow in that process. The second one is the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. And that can be a powerful reason not to grow for people. And I know for me, I've been like, I didn't really know what to do, at points in my life and in my career. The third is the timing gap. It's not the right time to begin. And I know we hear that a lot from people, in our line of work. Mm-hmm. And that also encompasses the law of diminishing intent, that says the longer we wait to do something that we should do now, the less are the odds that we're going to actually do it.
That, I read that last night and I was like, yep, that's me. I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get to that. And sometimes I eventually get to it, but yeah. I'm like, it's just a struggle. I just keep putting it off to the side, putting it off to the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. The mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. But growth isn't always a clean and neat pursuit. And I think the big question here to ask is, what would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? The perfection gap is I have to find the best way before I even start. And actually both the perfection gap and the mistake gaps are just excuse gaps for not getting started. And then and I've always found too that I can, when I set my goal and I start into action, that then God starts giving me light bulbs, that I don't have to see all the way to the end of it. I just have to see the very first step. There's a scripture verse that says that God gives us enough light for the step that we're on. And so we get there, and then he gives us more light, to take us and go the next way. And he brings people to surround us on that growth journey, because as we start growing, our energy changes, our magnetism changes, and God starts dropping in those resources for us. I truly believe that. The inspiration gap, I don't feel like doing it. That's what that sounds like. And it's really, will I do it or not? Will I do it or not? And John actually challenges us to 12 months of dedicated growth, to say, okay, what I'm going to be on purpose for this next year and grow for us. And then the 7th one is the comparison gap. Others are better than I. And, there's always going to be someone better. And we get to learn from those people. And other people need us to step up because they need to learn from us. God put you in their life for a reason. And I like to say, I'm not perfect and you're not perfect, but we're perfect for each other. in the process of things. And so they need us to step up and lead, because they need to watch that we don't do it perfect, and that will encourage them. And it will also, we speak a more powerful language to people when we are in a growth mode, and that makes a difference in the results that we get as well. And then there's the expectation gap, which is huge. We talked a lot about this in the last mastermind group of making your dreams come true, that I thought it would be easier than this. I thought it would be quicker than this.
Everybody wants it on a silver platter.
Yes. And then John gives a formula below where it looks like it's luck and it looks like it happened overnight, for people, that it's preparation, which is growth, plus attitude, plus opportunity, plus action, doing something about it equals the luck piece of it all. Okay. So of those, which I know you kind of both chimed in, which one do you think is your biggest one right now?
Expectation gap.
Expectation?
Yeah, I am coming up against brick walls with my book. Just so many people are out there to help you self-publish. And that is everything that's been plunked in front of me has been people who can help me self-publish, but I don't feel like I want to self-publish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like I want to have this book that I have to put in front of people and pitch. I feel like I want it to be at a bookstore. I want it to be at an airport where they're getting ready to get on a plane, and there it is. There's that piece of information that's going to help them to help someone else, to pass on to someone else, and not sit in my basement and wait for me to pitch it out there and meet with people. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel like I have to be chicken soup for the soul. I just feel like it just needs to have its place so it can reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like God's going to provide that, but it's not happening. So I'm thinking maybe I'm learning. This is my growth spurt. I'm learning all these walls so that maybe I can teach someone else. Yes, this is what happens. Yes, you're going to get frustrated, but don't give up type thing. Mm-hmm. There's some days I'm like, go, go, go. Come on, girl, go, go, go. And there's other days I'm like, who do I think I am? Who am I?
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of problem with that.
And you have a really powerful message in your book. A really powerful message in your book. So Amy, if you were to look at those 4 pieces of that, the growth, the attitude, the opportunity, or the action, which one could you stir in that might move that forward?
Definitely the action. So many people I'm running into say, well, to do this right, you don't want to have it all done, because you could pitch it to them and they're going to just change it all. Anyway, they're going to take you in a different direction. You're going to be frustrated because you're going to have all this done and they're just going to rip it apart. Mm-hmm. But, I have this big stack of journals and I moved them again. I took them with me to Tennessee, but never got a chance at night to go through them and star the ones that I want to throw into one. I just picture 5 books. I picture 5 books. So they made it from my luggage to next to my bed. They made it onto my bed yesterday, this bag of journals, and now they've made it into a corner in my bedroom.
I will be making you take that to conference.
But I concentrate on my business at conference.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you'll have time. Tuesday night, you'll have time. That's already in your plan.
So So how could you use a smaller bite-sized chunk of time to dig in there?
I loved reading this chapter and I went into the next chapter. For some reason, my July is just scant. I'm usually more busy than my calendar. And I'm thinking, okay, God is opening the way. And he said intentionally every day, write down, you're going to work, an hour on this. You're going to get up 3 hours earlier and you're going to devote 3 hours to this. That really kicked me in the butt. And I went to bed last night repeating 50 times. Do you remember that thing where it said 50 times?
Do it now.
Uh-huh.
Do it
Yep.
now.
I
Do
used
it
that
now.
this morning when I didn't want to get up and like clean my house ready for my party tomorrow.
Yay!
Do it now. Do it
Good.
now. I did that all last night in my sleep.
That's good. That's excellent. Hey, Mary joined us, so let's just give a shout out to Mary. Hey, Mary, welcome to the group.
Hi, sorry I was late. Everybody had a crisis today.
Oh,
Hey, they needed you, girl. When you demand, you're in demand, right?
I know, but I was like, there was nothing all week. And then literally from like 11:45 to 12:15, it was like, my QuickBooks is lost. It was just crazy, but I'm glad to be here. And I wanted you to know I'm glad to be here.
Aw, thank you.
Glad
Well,
you're here, Mary.
Thanks.
I'll post the link for you guys so that you have it.
Perfect.
And so we were just really going through the different gaps here is where we were right now on things. And I don't know if you had a chance to look at them, Mary, or
I did.
read the chapter. So I've just asked Amy and Jen, which one of those is their biggest one? And so Jen, it's her turn, and then I'll come to you, Mary.
Okay.
I'd probably say like the inspiration gap. I always have these grand ideas of like, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this. Like Amy and I were on like a call about a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, we should do this. It's now already June. I haven't done it. It's the middle of June, and I'm like, oh, we should do it. Yep, haven't done it, and it just keeps being put on the back burner. And I'm not meeting my potential. I'm not meeting basically my growth of being able to do these things because I find something else to do with my time. Or I said, like, I'm exhausted. I've worked 8 hours outside prepping outdoor work. Yeah, I don't want to do that now. I just want to sit on my phone and play some games and scroll through Facebook. So that probably for me is like my biggest one. The other one that I'm probably maybe the comparison gap too. Sometimes I compare myself to others and I kind of shut myself down because I don't think I can accomplish that or do that. And I'm like, and I just, then it goes back into the motivation of I'm not going to do it. So, and I just keep putting it off.
Sorry about that. I apologize. I didn't realize that I got one of those fun calls in there. The scam calls.
I had one too.
Yeah. So yes. And I think that in the comparison game piece of things, we're always comparing our weaknesses to somebody else's strengths, in that process. I do believe though, that what you see in people and you admire, that you have to have some of that in you. Otherwise you couldn't appreciate it as much. Mm-hmm. as what you do, in that process. And I also believe that, when we rely just on our own self, that doesn't allow God to shine through, on things, that he will help us and it will be a bigger testimony, as we go through the test of what we don't think we're capable of, doing in that process and being able to give him more glory in that as well. So inspiration. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and like with the comparison gap too, like goes with like my other job. Like I substitute teach. I haven't been able to get a job, but yet other people get a job, and I'm like, how are they getting the job and I'm not? And basically, it comes down to like an interview process. There's like scripted words you must say. And if you say those words, great, you get the points. And if you don't say those words, even though you do that on a natural basis, you don't get the points. And it's all based on a point system. And sometimes I look at some teachers and I'm like, how do you have a job? And I don't. You know, like I work 170 days substitute teaching, sometimes more than the actual teachers in the classroom, and yet I don't have a job. So why are they? And then it just kind of like goes in like my whole circle of life, and that's been my whole life of why are these people better?
But I have said to Jen, I have said to her, God may be closing doors there in teaching. I know that's what you went to college for, and I know that's your passion, but this part of your life may be, he wants you to experience this part of your life right now with owning your own business and growing like you have been growing, like just leaps and bounds, you know, instead of being stressed with having a classroom and 25 kids, you know. And I just, in my heart of hearts, I think he's placed you where you are and shut those doors on purpose.
Does those things. He does. Yes. Yeah. Okay, Mary, how about for you?
It's hard to pinpoint one.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Or even, I guess, what I see is more my biggest issue. I don't know how it fits into just one. It's tends to be a time factor that there just never seems to be enough time to do everything. And the problem is learning to say no to the things that don't serve me and really don't further my happiness, my family time, my work, my goals. And I've been like, I signed up for a group thing, and I went to it was an online webinar kind of thing, and did the first one and went, yeah, I don't think this is what I need. And said, let me give it another night and see. And second night, I'm like, yeah, this isn't where I need to be. So normally I would be like, I have to follow through. It just really doesn't feel like the right place for me. So that's something that I can take off of my plate and fill with something that's more appropriate. And, you know, I've been trying to switch with my business, switch my clients over to more of a monthly structured thing. And I was working with somebody to do that. And she sent me a message and said, well, we've been doing this about a month now. How's it going? And I'm like, no, we've only been doing it like 2 weeks. And she's like, no, it's been a month. And I'm like, that can't be right. And I went back, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's been a month. And I feel like I'm still like in the Flintstones when they run and their legs just spin and they don't go anywhere. And I'm like, when's the part when it goes? But
yeah. Well, I was going to praise you. I mean, you did really good in saying that's not my thing, where, you know, and where some people might have said, I've invested, I'm going to do that. And knowing that it's really not meeting what you need, you know, for yourself. So if you were to list the things that are really important to you and to list all the things that you're doing and seeing, are there things that you could delegate? Are there things that are getting you closer? Like, what are the key things of how you can do that? How can you get more time, you know, for yourself in, whether it be help around the house, whether it be help in the business, you know, or is it something they need, you know, is there some other solution, you know, that other people have utilized, you know, for those things so that you can have the time that you want. The other thing that can help is putting first things first.
Yeah.
Scheduling the things that give you the greatest joy and that take you closer to your goal first. So, because the rest of the things then kind of fit in, you know, work expands to fill the time available. So we've got to put those first things first.
Absolutely.
So maybe that can be something to take a look at too.
And honestly, I think coming back to this is going to help, because when I had that structure, like knowing we were going to meet on Thursdays, it helped me focus more. And that's what got me. I do have somebody helping with bookkeeping, the bookkeeping side of my business now, and she's doing a wonderful job. But it all let, like, having that focus and that drive. And then like we stopped, and then my personal life, like my mom, we had to clean her house out, sell it. She moved into Las Vegas, like all this stuff. And all that structure just went gone, you know? So honestly, when I was like, yay, we start again tomorrow, I'm like, I'm doing this every other week. Like, I'm just really glad to have some structure back. And, you know, I still listen to audiobooks in the car and everything, but it's just, I don't know, it's just a different mindset for me when I know that we're going to have this time to talk about what we're learning and really hear how everybody else is putting it into action, not just me. And it's really, it like revitalizes me, or almost is, I don't know if that's the right word, but
It makes you accountable.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
But you're right, making the list. And that's what I did last time, you know, and I started doing that. And even my client stuff, I sat down and listed every client and what needs to be done and what can be done and different ways I can help them. And I was doing really well with it. And then it just gone. So I got to get back to basics and start over.
Yep. Well, you know, here's the good thing is when you do it, it'll happen quicker for you.
That's true. That's very true.
Because you've already learned it. You'll be
Right.
like, this feels right. It
Yeah.
feels good. It's going to release those endorphins for you.
That's
And
true.
you're going to want more of it.
Yeah.
So that's good. You've got a good pattern for that. Excellent. Great recognition on that. And Jen, I would encourage you to journal why it's important to you. You know, make your list of, you know, here's all the reasons that this is important to me. This and that, the section of this is what I want for my life. And this is what I don't want in my life. So that you can get more clarity. And then maybe even asking yourself, what if I don't make these changes? What's my life going to be like? You know, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Because, you know, I've seen people who they were in the same place that they were 27 years ago, still there. And they're still, I'm a gonna, and they're not, you know? And so the time just flies by so quickly that we've got to get our internal juices going. And then maybe what's a baby step that you can take, kind of like Mary on the time side, what's a step that I can take in 10 minutes every day?
Yeah.
And doing it first in your day so that you feel like I'm accomplishing those things, because the action, as we look at the expectation gap piece of it, is it the expectation? No, it's at the inspiration, in the inspiration gap. It's that when we take the action, then we become motivated to take more action. And if we wait for to get inspired, we never will. So carving out, okay, here's why I want it. And even visiting that maybe every morning and every evening. It's good for all of us in all the gaps, is looking at those kind of things. Okay, so let's look at the next section, which is live it, which kind of moves into that. So this is where we begin to live it. So making the transition to intentional growth is asking the big question now. Where do you want to go in life? What's the farthest you can imagine going in your life and in your business? What direction do I want to go? And how long will it take? It's okay to not have all the answers to those questions. Give yourself permission and space, but ask yourself those questions every day until you get more clarity around that for you. B is do it now versus someday, is take some action steps every day. C is facing the fear factor. And what is fear factors? Like, we all have lots of fears. It could be, you know, the fear of failure. It could be the fear of success. It could be the fear of trading the unknown, you know, that the security of this is my world right now. But what happens if I get to that point? I might upset my apple cart, and can I handle everything? And, you know, and really security is kind of a myth. I think, you know, the only security is when you are in your own business and you're taking action steps. The fear of being overextended on your resources of time or money, like if it grows, then what would happen? The fear of what other people might think. Or the fear even that it might push other people away. We're going to leave some people behind as we grow and we move forward. And that's really their choice, because we'd take them right along with us. It's that crab mentality sometimes that can happen too, that as you start to move forward, other people will be like, wait, you know, don't go, don't do that. You don't have time for me anymore. You're so busy all the time, you know, and they're trying to keep you at the same level because you're reminding them of what they're not willing to do. And then the last part of this D is changing from accidental growth to intentional growth. And that's certainly a part of where you are right now. And so then John gives us a chart here. And so for your homework, I want you to kind of rate yourself on a 1 to 10 scale in each of these areas of where you are in each of these things. So planning to start tomorrow versus insisting on starting something now. Waiting for growth to come versus taking responsibility to grow. Learning only from mistakes, learning before mistakes. So catching and course correcting. Depending on good luck, relying on hard work. And Jen, you are a hard work girl. You already told me that about yourself. Yeah. Quits early and often versus persevering long and hard. Falling into bad habits versus fighting for good habits. Talking big versus following through. Playing it safe versus taking risks. Thinking like a victim versus thinking like a learner. Relying on talent or relying on character. Stop learning after graduation and never stops learning. So kind of rate yourself there as a place, as a benchmark to go forward in the future in your homework. And then the last part of this for leading it, so we talked about learning it, living it, and now leading it, is when you live the law, you're going to show others the way. And it's going to empower them to learn it and to live it. So maybe talking about this gap with somebody important to you, asking them, you know, which of these have they faced in their life, but getting some dialogue so that you're imprinting it and deeper within inside of you as well. So that as the future goes, you can catch yourself when you fall into one of these traps, or when you're in a new place. A lot of times you'll have an old gap that will come back up again because that's kind of a default place. And it's kind of a place that maybe the enemy might try to muck around in your head too. We say new level, new devil, but it's not always a new devil. He doesn't really have new tricks. He just brings up old ones kind of over and over for us. And then at the bottom of this, John says, take some time today and write out a growth plan to address each area above that maybe are the ones that are stopping you. And then scheduling specific time and focused growth plans throughout the next year. And if you think you don't have time to schedule something else, imagine what last year might have looked like if we had scheduled plans for growth. Because this really is a lifelong process. And, you know, for me, I know that one of the things that slowed me down, we can't sometimes, is that we have to slow down to speed up. So slowing down and taking that time to reflect where we are, where we have some holes or some challenges, and how can we do that? How can we change those things? But also looking at what are we doing that's working? Just really analyzing it. What didn't work, because we can just be on that hamster wheel and suddenly a year goes by and we didn't have the success we wanted or the growth we wanted because we weren't really taking the time to think and analyze and look at, this is where I want to go. Where do I need to course correct to get there? So next week, we're going to dive into lesson 3, which is the law of the mirror. We'll touch a little bit about the law of awareness, but we're really going to go into lesson 3, chapter 3, which is the law of the mirror. Because you're all pretty self-aware on good things.
And that's the 27th.
Yes, the 27th, right. Uh-huh. Do you guys have any vacations planned that might hit weeks where we're gonna, or your conference?
Yeah, our conference hits. We're going to be in Chicago on July the 25th.
Okay.
Probably in the middle of a session or something, huh, Jen? Because that'll be 11 to 12 a.m.
There. Yeah.
in Chicago time.
I'm going to pull up the schedule. But I think that is right in the middle of our agenda.
General session.
Thursday. It's in the middle of one of our breakout sessions, and then we have lunch at 11:30.
Okay.
Which would be 12:30.
12:30. Okay. And Mary, how about you? Do you have any vacations scheduled that conflict with anything?
No, I have no life.
Stop.
No, I mean,
Heck
pretty
no.
much, if we do anything, we usually do smaller trips. So, you know,
Okay.
for the most part, I should be pretty flexible.
Okay. And Mary, we added a 7th session for the 29th of August.
Okay.
Is it the 29th or the 22nd?
The 29th. The 22nd, I'm teaching at a conference in Dallas. And
Okay.
so
Nice.
I can't do that. So I'm going to do the 29th. So we'll go 3 weeks for that one, but that'll be the 7th
Okay.
one.
I
So-
will be traveling to Tennessee for another wedding that
Okay.
day, so I could just do it in the car.
Okay. Okay, great. So on the 25th, if we move it an hour, does that help you guys? Or would that just be like too hard to do while you're there?
I think it's going to be too hard to do. There's, 4,000 people. It's very noisy.
Yeah,
Where,
that's- Okay. And is there what days are you gone that week?
we come home Saturday very late.
We leave
when-
Tuesday to Saturday, 23rd to the 27th. We're there.
Okay. Would you want to try and do something, if it works with everybody else, on the 22nd? Monday, the 22nd?
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Mary, how about you?
Say that one again. I'm sorry.
If we would switch July 25th to the 22nd?
That's a Monday.
Yep. Would that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me just check with Mary Ann on that. So we'll put a tentative on that.
Okay.
And I'll just check with Mary Ann on that. Okay, and make sure.
Thank you
works.
so much. If that works, that's great.
Well, we'll work to see if we can make it all work out, right? So good. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm excited. Please feel free if you want to text me or share with me wins, you know, in our time of these next 2 weeks. And then I'll text you all the recording of this if you want to go back and listen to it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Kim. Thank
All
you
right,
for your
thank you.
time.
Thanks for joining us, Jen. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.